a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dark pass away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds. Whisper tales of troubled minds. Skeletons covering the mountainside. A treacherous reality in the pine.
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't mask the cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be
Winter reveals the hidden lie. Moonlight, the masked cries. Shadows caught in sunlit sky. There's no cover, no disguise.
all the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be
Hello, everybody. How are all of our hillbillies this evening? Well, welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Elizabeth, and this is Hillbilly Crime. Now, Jenny was supposed to come on. She just canceled like 2 seconds ago. She said she had a really, really bad headache, and she's trying to get rid of it. She said if she gets rid of it, she'll come on. But her daddy's funeral was yesterday. They've had a lot of crying going on, so her head's just not cooperating. It's getting a headache. So I sent Mommy the link instead. So if Mommy wants to come on, she'll jump on here in a second. Okay. So it's a big day. This is going to be a big show. I've got tabs open all the way across. Hopefully we won't have no freezing. Oh, knock on wood. All right. So, there was a newer, I'm not really sure when it dropped. When was it? September 11th. It came out September 11th. It is one of the crime fixes with Anjanette Levy. I'm not going to play the beginning of it because most of us know what they're going to say. Most of what they're going to say. But there was a new piece of video that was that came up with it. So I wanted to watch that with everybody. Let me check this real quick before we do that. Oh, and I wanted to let y'all know that I added in our moderators. So in the description of our videos, you're going to see, like if you wanted to put something in the tip jar or buy our moderators a coffee or anything like that, we added their Venmos in on the description. So they really, really do a ton of work on our chat, our live chat. They completely control just about the whole thing. I very rarely, very rarely have the chance to even look over at it much. So they really, really do a lot of that stuff. So we've got that added in there too. All right. Oh, I remember what I was gonna do. Give me a second. Let me pull this up and get our goal up there. We also have memberships, and we have gift memberships. It's really a great way to just build this community. Membership, some people can't afford to do a membership, and so they have gift memberships on the YouTube channels. So you can do like 1, you can do like 5, you can do 10, 20, whatever. And people really, really enjoy that. And so if you would consider doing some gift memberships, that's a really, really good thing on our channel. We are always very appreciative of that. Let's see. There was a lot happened. So this new video popped out or yesterday, and with Anjanette Levy and Crime Fix is what it's on. And then I have one of our diggers sent me a whole bunch of news videos from since like 10 years ago, 13 years ago. We're going to look back at some of the drug busts and some previous deputies, and we're just going to kind of take a look back. We got some good stuff, and we also I think Jenkins got a new police officer. I saw a picture, though. He came from the sheriff's department, I think, because he had worked at the sheriff's department. I don't know his name now, y'all. I'm sorry. But he's a young boy. He's a real tall young boy. And I think he just got hired on here at Jenkins. And from what I have been told, he come from a real good family. He's a good boy, or at least this is what his teacher said. And they said that they think he's going to be a good police officer. And so I thought, that might be a good thing that we should start doing, because I do a lot of criticizing. So we need to kind of balance that a little bit and talk about good things that people do. Now, I think I should probably rephrase that. We say good. So somebody's good. Oh, good. Honey, the Bible says they ain't none of us good. No, not one. We are everyone sinners. None of us are saints. And we all have a past. But it's what we're doing now. It's what we're doing now. What do you do now? What kind of fruit are you producing now, right? Well, we want to highlight when people do good things. We want to highlight when an officer does good, does something good in the community, helps somebody, makes a big drug bust or something. So we're going to highlight somebody today when we watch one of these videos. So let me go ahead and pull this on up, and we will start watching it.
Indictment charging Stines with murder thrown out. Jeremy Bartley maintains that prosecutors with the Commonwealth of Kentucky didn't give the grand jury all of the facts about Stines' mental health when grand jurors asked about it. I spoke with Bartley back in March about why he believes that Stines shot Mullins in the first place.
Yeah, he felt that his wife and daughter had been taken. And, I think that, there's a lot out there that touches on what was actually going on behind the scenes. We look at the Benfield's deposition, the deputy that was convicted of having coercive sex with someone who was on probation and or on an ankle monitor at the time in the judge's chambers. We've got a video. I mean, if we take a step back here, we're talking about a live feed in the judge's office. That's unheard of. I can't speak for the rest of the country, but I can speak for Kentucky. I've been in a lot of judges' chambers. I've seen a lot of cameras, but I've never seen one that was a live feed, basically a security camera. My understanding, that camera went up after this prosecution of Benfield's in the civil suit. So we know in those chambers there was things.
I also wanted to just stop and point out, Jeremy Bartley worked as a prosecutor for a long time. I forget what they said, like 8 years or something like that. He worked as a prosecutor for a very long time, from what I was told. And his wife, Carrie, she worked in the public defender's office. And I heard, now I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that she talked him into doing defense work. I don't know if that's true or not, but I did hear that. So he has a lot of experience on the other side of the fence. He knows what he's doing. I think they got a bad rap, people calling them personal injury lawyers or whatever. He was a prosecutor for a long time. So I think that's really important for all of us to know and keep in mind going forward with this trial.
Going on that shouldn't have been going on. And we believe that there were folks that didn't want it being told in this deposition what was going on in there before they put cameras up. And I believe that there is a history that would show us that there was a reasonable belief that he was in danger, his family was in danger, depending on what he said in this deposition. Now, again, we think that was exacerbated by his mental health, or conversely, these threats impacted his mental health. But the bottom line is that Mickey felt that there was a threat to his wife and daughter and that it was imminent.
I cover a lot of pretty scary stories here on Crime Fix, and if it's taught me anything, it's...
Okay, let me skip past that.
Filed a motion to dismiss the indictment, and the Commonwealth is asking to move the trial out of Letcher County, arguing that both sides, including the prosecution, are entitled to a fair trial. Prosecutors don't believe that.
Now, anybody that didn't know,
don't believe that.
Let me get this back here. That's Mickey's daughter behind him, sitting in back there, right directly behind him. That's Mickey's daughter back there. She was not at the last hearing. His wife was, and his son was, but his daughter wasn't. But it also was like that week that everybody was going off to college. So she could have went off to school. I don't know. I don't know if she did go to school or if she didn't go to school. I have no idea. But she wasn't in the courtroom the last hearing.
Trial out of Letcher County, arguing that both sides, including the prosecution, are entitled to a fair trial. Prosecutors don't believe that can happen in Letcher County. Pretty interesting, because you don't often hear of prosecutors asking for a change of venue, but I have seen it happen in a couple of other cases, although it's rare that it actually moves the trial, that a judge grants that request. But back to the motion to dismiss. Bartley filed a brief to support his motion. It's now under seal, but some outlets got it before that happened, so we can tell you what's in it. Bartley is accusing the lead detective, Clayton Stamper, of making false statements to the grand jury. On November 21st, 2024, Bartley wrote that Stamper testified in front of the grand jury, and despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary, Detective Stamper and the Commonwealth put on testimony that the So if you
have been watching with us the last several days, that's what we've been doing, is kind of going over a lot of these documents and stuff. And so we read this. Now, I had a hard time just comprehending it all. I kind of get lost and confused sometimes when trying to read this stuff. And I'm pretty educated, but I get lost and confused. So I can imagine how people who don't have any knowledge about the criminal justice system, they're not going to be able to follow this stuff either.
Investigation showed defendant was in his sane mind. Bartley goes on to write that Stamper knew full well that there were concerns about Stines' mental health in the days leading up to the shooting, and that Stines had been diagnosed with acute stress reaction. A grand juror had asked whether there was any record of psychosis, hallucination, depression, or mental health issues with Stines. Bartley writes, however, the Commonwealth and its witness do not disclose that the same records from the day before the shooting, his doctor diagnosed an acute stress reaction. Another juror asks, so Dr. McDougall said pretty much there's no mental health issues, but was there any major physical health issues that he was struggling with that might have affected his mental health? The witnesses answer, no, not that I'm aware of. Bartley writes that Stamper also didn't tell the grand jurors about mental health symptoms Stines was exhibiting following his arrest. The brief states, the Commonwealth's witness failed to note the mental health evaluations that were initiated by the government vis-a-vis the jail. These examinations were conducted at Kentucky River Community Care on September 20th, 2024, September 23rd, 2024, and September 24th, 2024. Those evaluations included observations of active psychosis. He had been given risperidol and Seroquel by the jail prior to the exams, as noted in the medical record. Now, in fairness, the Commonwealth will say that these are trial issues. Here's one of the special prosecutors at a hearing last month.
Your Honor, I think defense counsel is conflating.
Now, I'm also going to stop this and point out that whenever this hearing happened, how many people thought that the woman in the blue dress sitting right behind the prosecutor was the judge's wife, and then the two girls with the dark hair and the blonde hair sitting next to her were his daughters? No. The woman in the dark blue dress sitting right directly behind the prosecutor is like the victim's advocate. The one in the white blouse is the judge's wife, and that's her sister, the blonde, sitting there holding her hand. And she was the wife of Butler. She's now the ex-wife of Butler. But that's how they're brother-in-laws, because they married these two sisters. But that's not Judge Mullins' daughters. One of them is his wife.
The role of a grand jury proceeding with the role of a criminal trial. It is very clear under the law that they are distinctly different proceedings. The grand jury is an investigative body. The Commonwealth has no obligation, as reflected in an abundance of case law, to come in, to present exculpatory evidence, and to attempt to mount a defense for the defendant.
Now, we are now seeing more of Mickey Stines' bizarre behavior after the shooting. We already knew that he was paranoid. We've seen.
I think I want to stop that too, and I want to address that. What that woman was saying, or what I think she was rebutting. Remember, I'm no lawyer at all, so I'm not trained like that or anything like that. But what she was saying there was, she was saying that the Bartleys were saying that it wasn't really fair, or, that whenever they went to the grand jury is the one that hears the evidence. They hear what the prosecutor puts on, and then they are the ones that put out the indictment and on what charge. And so if we think about this and kind of break it down, the defense, they know this is on camera. Everybody knows this is on camera. Everybody knows Mickey did it. It's not a whodunit, right? It's a why did he do it, and what is his charge going to be? Are they going to charge him with like first-degree red rum, which is basically what they've got him charged with now, or what the defense was trying to get, which would be like manslaughter or something to that, something to equal to that, or less than murder anyway. And so the defense is, the Bartleys are saying in that motion that Detective Stamper got up on the witness stand and testified to the grand jury, and that he basically lied. Now, I don't know how they want to categorize, a lie versus omission, or, not qualified. I know because that's what she just read. Against the evidence to the contrary, like they have all this stuff saying that Mickey was suffering some kind of a mental health crisis, some kind of a mental health break, and that it shouldn't be necessarily murder. But Stamper is saying on the stand, that he was in his sane mind, which, is he qualified to give that? Okay, I don't know. But that woman prosecutor in that hearing, before I get too far out in the weeds, that woman prosecutor was saying, hey, judge, we're not responsible for coming in and being a defense attorney too. We're supposed to come in here and try to put this guy away. It's not our responsibility to share exculpatory evidence. Well, exculpatory evidence means something that would benefit Mickey and his defense. And at this point in the process, I don't think the prosecutor had to do that. But now, later on, down in the process, I think that they do. But like right now, I didn't think that they did. But remember, I'm not a lawyer, so I could be wrong on all of it. If anybody knows any different on any of that, please let us know. Ah, Matthew. I've had that forever. So, I just never thought to cover it up. The rules are changing. I'm changing the rules. You can't play by their rules. You play by their rules, they win every time. Their dice is rigged. They make the rules, they set the rules, and they break their own rules at will and figure out a way around it. But the rest of us are held to those rules. And then you end up having unspoken rules that people end up conforming to out of fear, intimidation, threats, blackmail. Buddy. Mommy, well, let's finish listening to her.
Body camera footage of that before, but now we're seeing more of it.
You go outside. I'll take me to the jail now, guys. To the jail? Yeah. Security. Yeah, security. I won't be on camera and stuff all the time. Yeah. Yeah, take me to the jail. Now, come on, boys. Come here. We're all on camera, man, all the time. I know, but I know how that works, the camera stuff. Take me downstairs. Y'all can interview me. I'll tell you the whole story downstairs. Oh, okay. Well, we're just trying to figure out what we can go right through that way, right down at the jail. And that may very well be what we do. I don't know. We'll see.
Look how crazy this scene is right here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now he's in handcuffs and they've had him sitting there in that hallway. We've seen this video 100 times, or this part of his arrest. We haven't seen this exact part of the video. It's going to show us parts that we haven't seen before. But I think that all it does is reinforce how scared he was and how he didn't trust anybody. we got a little bit more information too, out of this big, long newspaper man article that he wrote. My goodness, I didn't want to even read it. I don't like reading any of his stuff unless I have to and I don't have any other choice. But so many people contacted me and told me how upset they were at the article. I had to read it. So we're gonna read that, or at least read the parts in it that are important, and it's going to add to this right here. But pay attention. Mickey's used to being the one in charge, so he's trying to, kind of tell them what to do. Why wouldn't he? I mean, even though he's been arrested, I would expect him to do this. I wouldn't expect him to do anything differently. But I just feel like they're all like kind of, one of the things that we see regularly is how police officers don't learn, they're not trained to de-escalate situations. Like, how many times do you call the cops and the cops show up and they escalate? They're the ones that escalate the situation. Mommy, you've seen that with us, ain't you?
Yeah, they escalate, and sometimes when it's like a threat of a suicide, them come blurring with their things going, push him over the edge.
Yeah, and Mommy is talking about a specific incident that happened here a long time ago. It was friends of ours, a family member of a friend of ours, and the boy was threatening to harm himself, and he was in a mental health crisis. He was only, 18 or 19, Mommy?
Or was younger than that, I think.
16 or 17, maybe. He was a minor, wasn't he?
I think he was, but I'm not sure. He was young.
He was young. And he had him a little girlfriend, and she had broke up with him, I reckon, and he was just despondent and was trying to get her to get back with him. And he showed up somewhere, I guess, threatening to harm himself.
At her house.
At her house. And they called the police, of course, and he was outside, wasn't he, Mom? He didn't go in the house. And and this happened here in Letcher County. And you see the kind of training that we see, right? Well, they all come blaring down the road with sirens blaring and, just all this stuff. And to a young kid who thinks he's getting ready to get in trouble and have this big confrontation, he did it, didn't he, Mom?
Yep.
He did it. And there was no de-escalation. There was no nothing. And I know that nobody intended for that to happen. That's nobody's fault. I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying we have got to train our people. And on the job training by people who have been grandfathered in does not count, because then you've got the blind leading the blind. Poor Mickey. I say poor Mickey because Mickey doesn't seem to be the smartest tool in the shed. And I think that he got, we're going to hear it in the newspaper article, one of the police officers that we're going to highlight here in a minute, I think it was them. Somebody said that he could dish it out, but he couldn't take it. He was very easily offended, and he didn't like it when anybody thought something bad about him. He would confront people and ask them why they put a negative comment on his Facebook page. Like, that's a little bit And I told you that I spoke with the girl that he had the affair with for so long. And, you know, she even said that he was very manipulative and he was very poor, pitiful me. He could take advantage of people's pity quite easily. But, you know, I don't know. I didn't know Mickey like that. I didn't know Mickey to like him or dislike him. You know, I told you they all kept me, they all stiff-armed me like you do your little brother. Or have you ever been done that way by your big brother? They put their palm on your forehead, and no matter how much you swing and try and get them, they keep you at bay at all costs.
So, listen, we're not gonna listen. Maybe first we got to figure out who's working this, and that's gonna be who's talking. Okay. Glad doing it. I'm gonna be downstairs on camera now, guys. Come on. Okay. Well, we just gotta wait on the detective who's gonna be working this. Okay.
Stines was afraid to go to the jail.
Now, come on, guys. No, come on now, guys. I'm not taking nothing. No, now.
There's 2 body cams right, Mickey. It's all recorded and there's a digital recorder. That will be, look, show you that it's right. Look.
Come on now, guys.
No, look, Mickey, we've known each other a long time. Look, it is recording. That one's recording. Clayton has a backup recorder running.
Come on, guys.
What do you think?
Slow down.
We can't talk in the hallway of the courthouse. Mickey.
Yeah, there's
No,
people here. We don't want to.
I mean, there's people in that room, there's people in that room. We can't do that.
So what's the problem?
I'll get another one. I'll put one on me. You want to take blood, okay? But I can't be in the room.
Come on, Mickey. Come on.
Is there somebody that you trust other than us that you would prefer to be with us?
Mickey, I think we've known each other our whole lives. I'm not only anything I have no reason. Come on now, guys.
Mickey, you
Get
have
to
to
the
go.
jail
You have to be
safely,
moved.
fair.
You have to be moved at some point. You
I know.
got 2 body cams running.
Get to the
We're not
jail
saying
safe,
anything.
fair. And would you have a trial? Would you talk to us in the jail down there? Do you feel safe down there because there's cameras?
What did he say there? He said something about having a trial.
You have to be moved at some point. You got 2 body cams running.
Get to the
We're
jail
not saying
safe,
anything.
fair. And would you have a trial? Would you talk to us in the jail down there? Do you feel safe down there because there's cameras everywhere? Are you gonna move me after the interview?
Bosses have had
I'm not gonna dictate how it goes, guys. I know how this works.
I know.
I'm not gonna feel safe in a room here, but
We're not gonna hurt you. Why would just like Anthony, I've known you for 20 years, but we're not gonna hurt you. That's why we have 2 body cams and a digital recorder running, Bub. I promise you.
I ain't got none.
I know that, but that ain't what we're worried about, Bub. We just can't talk in the hallway of the courthouse. Plus, there's people looking. We need to go somewhere out here. And
Pull my
you're
pockets inside out.
Is that it? Ain't that?
No, pull my pockets inside out. Now, guys, y'all don't do me this way.
Now, of course, in the background of all of this was a civil suit involving a deputy under Stines having sex with an inmate in Judge Mullins' chambers, and rumors that Judge Mullins was running a scheme to get favors from women who were incarcerated in exchange for sex. I want to bring in Dave Ehrenberg. He is the former state attorney in Palm Beach County, also currently a defense attorney. Dave, this case is a crazy case because we literally have a shooting on camera. We have a homicide taking place on camera, a sheriff killing a judge who was his friend. In the background, we have all of this chatter about a sex for favors sex ring allegedly run by the judge. Now we have these new documents coming out, though, saying it's kind of letting some credence to the defense that Mickey Stines may have been under some duress, some emotional disturbance. So what do you think as you look through these documents that they're saying that the lead detective didn't tell the grand jury the whole truth about, this diagnosis that Mickey Stines had?
Yes, this is their way, meaning the defense's way of trying to get the charges dropped by saying that the key witness before the grand jury, lied to the grand jury. It's not an unusual argument. This actually happens more than you'd like to believe, because the defense is always trying to get that edge, trying to get the charges dismissed, because a grand jury's burden is just to find that there's probable cause. It's a low burden, and then you get an indictment. So here's their way of trying to get the charges dismissed before it even gets to trial. And I don't think it's going to succeed. You have to show that there is a willful lie here, something intentional, a deception before the grand jury. And sometimes investigators just have a different opinion about someone's mental health. The investigator is not an expert in mental health. And so to say that he's just lying about it, that's maybe a bit of a reach. Now, as far as the fact that this defendant may have some may have some real issues. That will play in the trial, but I don't think it's going to get the grand jury indictment dismissed.
No, I don't think it's going to get the grand jury indictment dismissed, but I think that the Bartleys, the defense team, would be remiss if they didn't at least try based on this information.
No, I agree. And it is telling that you have this battle of paperwork in advance. It shows you that this case has reached the public's consciousness, where you have the prosecution seeking a change in venue, and you have the defense saying that it's our client who has a severe mental disturbance caused essentially by what he knew about this judge. And so this is a combustible situation. I do think that there is a need to get at least a jury from a different jurisdiction, perhaps the case moved. I do not see this case getting dismissed before trial. And so this is going to be must-see TV if and when it does go to a trial.
Yeah, definitely. How unusual is it, in your experience, for the Commonwealth, the state side, to ask for a change of venue?
It is unusual, but it's not unheard of, because the state has a right to a fair trial too. I know the Sixth Amendment applies to defendants, and in fact, the Constitution of the United States says nothing about victims. It says a lot about defendants and suspects. But the state does have also a right to have a fair trial, and that means that if there's a jury out there that cannot be fair, that is swayed by emotion, by sympathy, rather than following the evidence and the facts and the law, then you've got to find another jury. You can bring another jury from a different part of the state, or you can move the case entirely. It's not unheard of, but it is rare that it is the state seeking it, which tells you about all the information that's been out there and all the rumors and everything that people have been talking about the victim being involved in this pay for play sex ring. That's the kind of thing that could lead to what's called jury nullification, which is a prosecutor's worst nightmare, which means that the jury sees the evidence, sees the law, and disregards it because they just don't like the victim.
Right. And I think that could be a concern here. I mean, obviously the Bartleys want to keep this trial in Letcher County because of all of the, goodwill, I guess, that Sheriff Stines, Mickey Stines, he's not the sheriff anymore, but he has a lot of support in Letcher County. So they want a Letcher County, and it's a small town. They don't want a Letcher County jury, and it's a small town. However, the Commonwealth's like, there's just been too much media attention on this. We need to move this. But the defense is saying, this is a national story. You're not going to take the media attention away, whether you move it, to one county or another.
That's something that's changed in recent years. It used to be, before the advent of streaming and social media, that if you had a case that was a big deal in a certain jurisdiction, you can easily move it to another jurisdiction and escape all that publicity. But now we're all on the same networks. We all watch the same news from, or at least the same social media sites. And so everyone knows about everything pretty much. A case like this would be something that would be known throughout the state of Kentucky, not just that one part of eastern Kentucky. With that said, it's still different. I mean, remember in Idaho, they moved the Koberger case because even though everyone knew about it, they still felt that having a jury in that small town of Moscow, Idaho was prejudicial to the defense. Here, the state is saying that because of sympathy for the defendant, he was well liked, because of dislike of the victim, you got to move it to a different area. Even if the people in the other area know about the case, it's still not the same. They don't know the parties personally. So I think the state has a legitimate argument to at least get a jury shipped in from a different part of the state.
They may. And it sounds like, there are some rumblings down there that this is going to move. And so if you put this case in front of another jury, the defense strategy seems here, Dave, to be all about getting a manslaughter conviction rather than a murder conviction, because of the extreme emotional disturbance. That's the strategy. They've basically said that. But you might be more apt to get that in Letcher County than, say, another county like Bowling Green or some other, some other area where there isn't as much known about the background of this case and what could have been potentially going on in the background, especially with the civil lawsuit about the sex for favors and things of that nature. So you may put this case in front of a jury who's like, I don't care about all of that. You literally took out a gun and shot your friend, the judge, in cold blood, and then went after him, followed him as he tried to crouch around his desk. So that's going to show whether he had some mental health issues going or not. The prosecution, the Commonwealth, is going to say that's a cold-blooded killing.
Yeah, I actually think the defense is going to try to get an acquittal because of jury nullification. I think they're going to focus on what the victim was supposedly doing and outrage at least one of the jurors, and that's all it takes for a hung jury, and you outrage them all and you get sympathy for the defendant, and then it's game over. It's an acquittal. So if you just base it on the video alone, there's enough evidence, I think, for a murder conviction there, or at least manslaughter. But you're right. I think the baseline here is to at least get a manslaughter, which means he'll see the light of day outside of a prison again, even if he's convicted. But I think they're going to go for it all. They already are and trying to dismiss the indictment altogether. But that video is so powerful that unless you engage in jury nullification, I think that video means he's going to be convicted of at least manslaughter, if not murder.
Yeah, it's really something else. This case is something, and there's something going on down there. And there was definitely something going on with Mickey Stines. So we're going to keep an eye on it. Dave Ehrenberg, thank you for your time as usual.
Thank you, Antoinette.
Now, of course, the judge has not yet ruled on these motions to dismiss the indictment or the change of venue motion. We'll just have to wait and see what happens with both of those. But the defense wants that case to stay there in Letcher County. And we're going to keep an eye on all of this. A trial date has not yet been set. I'm Antoinette Levy. Thanks so much for joining me for this episode of Crime Fix. I'll see you back here next time.
All right. All right. So that was the little piece of video that they had. And one of our viewers just told me that there's another site up. We've been following the Letcher County T, you all. And they banned the first one. That, remember the ones that we watched the other night? So for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, last week there was a new TikTok account that dropped, and every day they put out a new video. And now whoever is behind it is completely anonymous. Nobody knows who it is that has put it out, or that put these videos together. But one of the things that I noticed big time with it was the photographs that they were using in there were very personal photographs. Now, people like me, somebody like me, I post all my stuff right on my Facebook, and I do that so I can keep it. I know where it's at. Every year, you know, I can just look back through my Facebook timeline and see all my stuff. I don't have to keep it, you know, up with it. Well, anyway, so the Letcher County T, they put those up, and then the site got banned. Now, Jenny told me, she was like, it'll get banned. She said, watch. She said, it won't take no time, and they'll have it kicked off of there. And, all right. And so I was glad that we did the show where we were able to watch them before they got kicked off and deleted. All right. So let's watch this new site, and we'll watch these videos that they've got up. All right. Here we go. Oops. It was not only women he was after, it says. There we go.
Let me suck on your nipples. Yes. Let me suck on your nipples. Yeah. Let me suck on your nipples. Let me suck on your nipples. Yeah. No. Let me suck on your nipples. Let me suck on your nipples. Yeah. No. Let me suck on your nipples. Let me suck on your nipples.
That's crazy.
The propaganda is on every channel. Think we stupid like the truth is just too hard to handle. Put on your camo, it's a culture war and load the ammo. They want Antifa.
Okay, there's me right there. I'm about scared. I'm about scared to watch it.
Oh, I loved it.
I did too. That was our favorite show. Uh-oh, here's mine. Well, at least they used a good picture.
Well, it didn't do anything or say anything.
I know. And this one don't either. I guess it's just a loop
Who is
de loop.
it?
I don't know. It looks like an AI guy. Looks like they've made it with a AI guy. It says, Mickey, go watch Hillbilly Crime. Oh my gosh. What a shout out. We got fans, buddy. We got the best hillbillies ever. Our platform, second to none, baby. Second to none. All right. Ain't that something? I think that's cute. I think that's funny. All right. So let me pull up a couple of these other things. So we're going to watch a couple of these news. These are very interesting. I've shown all of these in the past, but we've not shown them in a long time. So we've basically got, well, I don't know if we do or not. If we've got any new viewers in here, which I'm sure we do. Here we go. Here's Mickey.
Three drug-related arrests on Thursday. Letcher County sheriffs were able to remove over 15 grams of meth from the streets. Friday, Mountaintop spoke with Sheriff Mickey Stines about their efforts.
Basically, we received a call from Whitesburg ARH that they had found what they believed to be meth. And I sent up a couple of deputies, and a deputy that comes on duty at 4 also followed up. They went up and done an investigation and found that it was meth. And through their investigation, we have charged a Lola Craft. While deputies were on the scene investigating the complaint, a Keyston Craft was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct second degree, menacing, assault third on a police officer, and resisting arrest.
During the investigation, deputies Stambo, Norris, and Whitaker were able to arrest and charge 63-year-old Lola Craft of Neon with possession of a controlled substance and terroristic threatening. Also arrested was 18-year-old Keyston Craft, who was charged with resisting arrest, assault on a police officer, and disorderly conduct. Included in the arrest from Thursday, during a traffic stop, Deputy Norris arrested 48-year-old Tom Blair on drug charges as well.
Blair was stopped by Deputy James Norris yesterday evening. Once he done his investigation, he found Mr. Tom Blair in possession of 14 grams of meth, where he's charged him in trafficking and controlled substance first degree, a set of scales, empty baggies that was not used to process meth later and transfer and sell. He had 2 different baggies, but it was a total of about 14 grams of meth. He had drug paraphernalia. He didn't have his license in possession, and he had no registration plates.
With 3 more arrests under the department's belt, Stein says he's proud of his deputies' efforts.
Oh, it's fantastic, man. It's a pat on the back to my deputies.
You know, one of the things that I want to point out, there was kind of a change in mentality which, yes, there was. Whenever they started pushing rehab, you know, and the Senate Bill 90 and stuff like that, they kind of transitioned from, which that was the purpose, right? Was to try and help people that had drug-related crimes not have to go to prison when they're really not a criminal. They were a user, right? That was the idea, the philosophy behind it. But they didn't have anybody that was competent or that was knowledgeable enough about bridging that gap, right? Like they used somebody like Clark, right? Instead of people who knew what they were talking about. Plus, I don't think they were asking for anybody's input. They were the experts. They knew everything. They knew how to do this. Well, it went from trying to help the users not become criminals, right? But all they did was they made everybody a user in the eyes of the courtroom, or in the eyes of the law. But it became more about money and filling those rehab beds and putting up the big numbers for Andy Bashir and whoever else that was over these big programs and these big buckets of money. They had to show data, right? And they were whenever there's a benefit in the profit, that's going to skew things. And so now, like, do we have any investigations on stopping the influx of this meth into our community? Like they're just arresting these users that they see. But what about the big drug busts? How about the big boys? They're just picking people off, the low-hanging fruit. You have to get these big boys up here. This low-hanging fruit is just, that ain't how you run investigations and clean up the community. But they all started focusing more on rehab and filling those beds and everybody making money.
Me, it's them. They're out there every day in the front lines fighting this battle. It's just amazing that, if you're not in it every day, you don't really see the issues that we have here local and through the whole state and whole nation. But, when you're hands-on with it every day, it makes me proud. It makes me proud of them, the job they're doing, and just, they're saving lives. These three individuals are probably upset and mad at us, and I can't blame them. We're all humans, and I wouldn't want to be in jail either, but don't violate the law. We have saved lives, and the deputies have saved lives by making that arrest. 14 grams of meth. What if one of those grams would have potentially caused somebody to overdose and die?
For Mountaintop News.
Yeah, that's the point. Okay, now we're going to have our highlight, okay? I'll talk about her a couple times tonight. So this is a lady that I just cannot speak highly enough of. She is now our Jenkins school resource officer, and everybody loves her.
The street value of the methamphetamine alone is $200,000, give or take. We also were able to seize a truck and approximately $5,000 in cash. That's been a group effort. Myself and Deputy Fields had conducted a traffic stop, and done some surveillance and things of that nature, and we're able to get what.
Now, did you hear what she said? She said that they did a traffic stop and they did some surveillance. Normal police procedures that you would do in an investigation.
We believe to be the biggest drug dealer in Letcher County. So I think, although there's still more out there.
Did you hear what she said? She thinks that they just took down the biggest drug dealer in Letcher County at that time. Now, this was a long time ago. Let me pull this back up. This was 7 years ago. Let me read this. Police in Letcher County executed a massive drug seizure this week, which, according to one officer, took perhaps the biggest drug dealer in the county off the street. The Letcher County Sheriff's Department told EKB News that 4 pounds of crystal meth was seized last week. 4 pounds, along with 10 grams of H, several firearms, $5,000 in cash, and a pickup truck. 62-year-old Donnie Bob Collins of Bottom Fork and his daughter, 36-year-old Samantha Danielle Collins, were arrested. Letcher County Sheriff's Deputy Sergeant Alicia Congleton, that's Alicia, characterized Danny Collins as being a major drug dealer in Letcher County. She said the approximate street value of the meth seized in the bust is about $189,000. And the total street value of the drugs seized in the bust was about $200,000. Now, according to the forfeiture rules, this was 7 years ago. We can pull up all of the big busts that have the big seizure busts, busts where they confiscated a great deal of money and rugs and all that kind of stuff, right? Well, they do a court process where it's called a forfeiture, where whoever that is that's guilty of these crimes, once they're sentenced and their case is over, or it might happen, remember, I'm not a lawyer, it might happen like right around that sentencing time or somewhere, but they do a hearing where they'll do like a forfeiture form, they fill it all out and everything, and then the agency that, I think it's the sheriff's department, would then get that money. They get a big percentage of it anyway. I'm not exactly sure what the percentage is, but they do get a lot of that money. They get enough with all the drugs and the people that they've been putting in all these rehabs for possession. And I'd say most of I'd like to see the breakdown of that. How many of the charges in the last 5 years, just say 5 years, how many have been one versus the other, and I would like to know, we pulled up the forfeiture, the state has like a forfeiture cabinet or something like that, and so every county annually is supposed to put together their forfeiture report and send that into the state. Well, I think the last time that Letcher County turned in a forfeiture report, an annual forfeiture report, was like 2016 or something like that. It has been a very, very long time. Where's all that money been going? How many forfeiture hearings has Letcher County had? And where's all this money at then? I'd like to know that. I've been saying it. I haven't said it enough. We need forensic accounting. That's what we need. These audits that they're doing every year, that's not good enough. The scope of these audits is not to find the money. That is not what these audits are even for. So whenever they say, oh, well, go look at the audit, go read the audit, that doesn't tell us nothing. It gives us an overview, but I want to see transactions. I want to see receipts. I want to go through line item by line item. I want to see what you bought at Walmart for the sheriff's department. I want to see how much gas was bought on the credit card from the jail. I want to see that stuff. But where do you go to find that? We need forensic accountants. I feel like this particular case has put the biggest drug dealer in Letcher County behind bars, Congleton said. Congleton said that the investigation that resulted in Collins's arrest was months long, but he had been on law enforcement's radar for about a year. She said Letcher County had seen a flood of methamphetamine, particularly crystal meth, come into the county over a short period of time. Sounds to me like they got their drug trafficking system together. That's what it sounds like to me. Do you know what year that Tweety Bird started working with them? Do you know when this reformed drug trafficker? I wonder. This was March 13th, 2018. Well, he was about to come out, or let's see, 2019, he got his pardon. So 2018, it sounds to me like he was just getting out of prison, just getting out of rehab. Sounds to me like ARC was really coming in, getting real hot and heavy around this time. Yeah, I can kind of see where that would be a possibility. You think anybody else would want to investigate that? Let's see. Congleton said the investigation. Oh, I already read that part. The deputy said she is confident Collins was supplying other dealers in Letcher County. She said she hopes Collins' arrest puts a dent in the trade in the county. She also said Collins' alleged dealing activities are likely linked to other crimes. There are several thefts. There are overdoses that can be attributed to this one case, Congleton said. And nobody was ever investigating hot shots for anybody. How many overdoses has Letcher County seen in the last? Oh, Mommy left, didn't she? She got bored. How many overdoses have we seen? A whole big bunch. Has anybody been investigating them as hot shots? What about attempts on people's lives? I know of one girl who she's in hiding right now because she lived. She's in hiding because she lived. She survived the hot shot she was given. Barely. She barely survived. And she said she went there, wherever she went with them, she went there with the person that she trusted. She trusted this person who did this to her. With friends like that, who needs enemies? And then left her there for dead. Okay, Congleton said that the Pike County Sheriff's Department assisted Letcher County deputies in serving the search warrant against Collins. The Pike County Sheriff's Office provided the use of its K-9 unit, Copper, during the bust. Both Danny Collins and Samantha Collins remain lodged in the jail on charges of first-degree trafficking in a controlled substance. greater than 2 grams and controlled substance endangerment to a minor in the 4th degree. Said that Samantha Collins was also arrested for being a fugitive from another state. But even though they were arrested on those, and it's for trafficking, a lot of times, even if they're arrested for it, by the time they get in and get their negotiating what the plea will be, they get the possession charge. They'll drop the PFO. Those PFOs mean persistent felony offender. That's what a PFO stands for. And each one of them, like if you get a PFO, one count of a PFO, that means like 10 years gets added on to whatever crime you committed. So if you stole something, that was a felony level theft. If you were a persistent felony offender, meaning you had been charged with felonies before, they usually will, especially with drugs. With drug charges, they love to use it, and they hardly ever convict on one. Hardly ever. They use that as a bargaining chip because it's an added 10 years on to the sentence of whatever crime you committed. They'll use that as the threat to make you take whatever plea that they're offering you. Because if they take you to trial with that PFO, you're looking at what, 30, 40, 50 years? So people take whatever plea they're being offered. It's not really fair. A lot of people, sometimes we end up seeing innocent people be railroaded into taking a plea when they shouldn't have been charged at all. Okay, we got a couple more here.
Afternoon. 40-year-old Brenda Blair, 26-year-old Keisha Cook, 43-year-old Danny Gibson, and 48-year-old Kimberly Brewer all face meth-related charges. Deputies also plan to charge at least one of them with animal cruelty, but one of the accused told me from jail the charges are unfair.
If you're making it, we're going to get you sooner or later.
Tubes, funnels, drain opener, fuel, and other ingredients used to make meth. That's what Letcher County Sheriff's deputies say they found inside this home on Highway 931 North in the Sandlick community. They arrested Brenda Blair, Keisha Cook, Danny Gibson, and Kimberly Brewer. And
now I want you to notice who the police officer is in this video. This was also 9 years ago. Oops. Went to the wrong one.
Took them to the Letcher County Jail. Deputies say they received a tip Cook was staying there and doing meth. When they knocked on the door, they say Gibson opened it, and that's when they saw a meth lab inside the home.
It's extremely dangerous. And the truth is they've not done enough research to know what it can cause on down the road as far as exposure goes. But just the fumes and all that stuff, it's extremely strong. I mean, you can smell it as soon as you get to the door.
Blair, Brewer, and Cook all declined comments. However, Danny Gibson told me in an interview from jail he's innocent. Gibson says, to his knowledge, no one in the home was making meth.
There's really not a lot of stuff I had to do.
You guys, is this the guy that got unalived by Clippy's boy? You know what I'm talking about? Is this the Gibson guy that unalived, or that was red rummed by his friend? Was that Danny Gibson? I know he was a Gibson, I'm pretty sure. But is that him? Danny Gibson. I know that. So a long time ago, well, it was Taya. You remember when Taya was telling everybody that she got in that fight in the jail? I don't know if this is the guy or not. It might not be, but she got in a fight. Her and two other girls were in a cell, and one of their friends ended up being Ricky Gibson. Okay, this is Danny Gibson, so it's not the same guy. Thank you. But the case that I'm thinking of, that was what happened to Taya. So Taya and two girls were in jail in the cell, and one of their friends were red-rummed, Ricky Gibson, by a man and a woman. They arrested the woman and they brought her into the jail, and they put her in the cell with Taya and the two other, and Lexi and the other girl. They knew what those three were going to end up doing to her. They beat her up. I mean, they bring in the person who just red-rummed their friend. What do you think is going to happen? But no, this is not him. Everybody, they said this is different guy.
With it, as far as I know, well, you can go to anybody's house and find enough stuff to hit them for precursors. However you go to every house down there, you'll find that.
As 4 people find themselves behind bars, at least one of whom deputies say will also face an animal cruelty charge because a dog was found in the home and transported to safety. Members of the Kentucky State Police Drug Enforcement Special Investigations cleaned up the scene to eliminate any danger to people who live nearby. All 4 suspects are scheduled to be arraigned tomorrow morning.
Okay. I just see a whole lot. I see a big difference in the way that the sheriff's department approached the drug dealing in the community back when Alicia worked for the sheriff's department 10 years ago versus, what we see now. I just don't, or well, maybe not now, but yeah, now. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, now. I don't think our sheriff, Billy Jones, is, I don't think he has the ability to stand up to people. He's just so nice. Like, he's too nice, like way too nice. I don't see him calling any of his deputies out on anything. I don't. I mean, if I'm wrong, show me. If I'm wrong, show me. Show me one person that has fired one of their deputies for any kind of wrongdoing. Anything. Whitesburg Police Department, Neon Police Department, Jenkins Police Department, or our Sheriff's Department. Even our state police. But we don't have a whole lot to do with them. But the rest, you tell me one person that has been relieved of duty as a punishment or even suspended. Show me that. Show me any kind of disciplinary action. Any. Even the chief of police, Tyrone Fields, can get drunk in his police cruiser, go to Hazard, a whole other county away. You got nerve to be drinking and driving in a police cruiser in somebody else's county. I mean, it's bad enough that you do it anywhere. But you go to somebody else's county and do that and then pass out in the Taco Bell drive-thru and get caught. Zero consequences. We've found out some things about our Whitesburg chief of police. He, if what I found out is accurate, he started out at like Alice Lloyd College working security, I heard. And then he came over, somehow he ended up over here at Whitesburg. But the way that I was told he was hired on, I don't know if this is true or not. This is just what I've been told. Somebody that worked at the sheriff's department or at the Whitesburg PD hired him part-time, or maybe just used him as a volunteer, because they have some volunteers that get police cruisers. I've never figured that part out. Fernandez, Mickey's buddy, Fernandez guy, he's had a sheriff's department car at his house for like the last 15 years. I don't know, but he also works in the courthouse. I've seen him up there like working court security or something like that. He's got a big firearm on his side. He was running for jailer, but volunteers. Man, I tell you, we need some different mindsets in these positions, y'all. Desperately. So anyway, he gets brought on, I think, in either a volunteer or maybe a part-time. We'll give him a little leeway and say possibly he was hired on part-time for something. I don't know. But he was not hired on as a police officer, I was told. Allegedly. But they told him they were short-staffed or something, and they said, we want you to drive the cruiser around. Now, allegedly, this is what I was told. We want you to drive the cruiser around and be seen and not heard. Do not pull anybody over. Do not arrest anybody. Do not approach anybody. Just drive the car. Just let people see the car. That's it. I was told 5 hours into that agreement, he allegedly arrested somebody, had him in handcuffs, and whenever they called the real police, they came, and one of the other ones did the paperwork, and then it was like emergency. They had to get him up to the clerk's office and swear him in. I was told that they did like the POPs test. They had to do like an emergency POPs test for him and stuff. But if that's true, that's a big cover up. If that's true, I was told that he was a never shoulda been. But yeah, he's been the Whitesburg police chief for a long time. And best buddies with Daniel Dotson. Well, we know what Daniel Dotson is. And we also know that if you were good friends with Daniel Dotson, if you go to Tennessee and hang out with Daniel at the lake, I think you know a little bit more than what you want us to believe you do. But whenever he got in trouble with the DUI, he didn't get in no trouble. None. Whatsoever. None. So if I'm wrong, if I am wrong, show me, send me the disciplinary file or record or whatever it is. If I'm wrong, show me. I've got one personnel file. I'd like to get them all. I'd like to get them all. I want to see what disciplinary actions have been. I want to read the emails. back and forth between your mayors, city council members, and your chief of police, whether it be Whitesburg, Neon, Jenkins, or the sheriff's department. I want them all. I want to see them. I want to see what you guys have protecting our communities.
In America Glover, deputies arrested Eric Howard Monday. They found Howard hiding in a utility building near a home in the Jeremiah community with prescription pills and thousands of dollars in cash. We spoke with one constable who says this is a win for their community. When it comes to prescription drugs, Letcher County Sheriff's deputies say they make a lot of arrests, but none quite like this one.
It's not every day we get to arrest someone that we know is actually bringing the drugs into Letcher County.
But Constable John Ambergy says Monday was that day.
Well, for the past month, I've been getting numerous complaints about him selling.
He's talking about 32-year-old Eric Howard. At first, sheriff's deputies were arresting Howard for violating his parole. But while arresting and searching Howard, officers say they found more than $6,500 in cash and medications like oxycodone.
It feels great. I mean, that's one person behind bars that sold the dope that I might have saved a life.
Deputies, state police, and other agencies got calls saying Howard was transporting drugs into the county from out-of-state sources
For the purpose of engaging in legal drug sales.
This deputy says Howard's arrest is just one example of progress.
We're still working as hard as we ever have, trying to stop the problem.
Working to keep drugs off the streets and offenders in jail.
Okay.
Letcher County.
But Constable John Ambergy says Monday was that day.
Well, for the past month.
All right. I have a couple. Just a couple more. But these are fascinating to look back at. That was Sheriff's Deputy Eugene Sloan. He worked for the Sheriff's Department. He was actually the one that let me go from my internship. And this guy right here is the one that was in the sheriff's office when we were trying to get in. And Eugene said, well, this door shouldn't be locked. You just stay right here and I'll go get the key. And I said, okay. And I was just all, happy and excited. I was just happy to be there. I was just excited. I was 1 week into my internship at the sheriff's department. I'd done a couple ride-alongs with Alicia, the lady who's our school resource officer now. And that was when I met her for the very first time. And a week later, Eugene said, can I talk to you for a second? I came in that morning carrying my Bible. But it wasn't like I carried it around with me everywhere. Whenever I came in, I would sit it with my purse, So that way, if I was on break or something, lunch or whatever, I could read it if I wanted to. But if I didn't want to, then I didn't, but whatever. So I was like, yeah, I was just so excited. We went back and then the door wouldn't open. He goes and gets the key. It seemed like he was gone forever. He came, which I'm sure he wasn't. He came back. He fumbled around. Eugene don't get in no hurry. He's kind of a slow moving fella. And he put the key in the door and went to turn the knob. And as he turned the knob to push the door open, the door, pulled open from the inside. And he's fixing his uniform, and he's in there with a girl. And him and that girl just scurry right on out the door. And me and Eugene are standing there looking at each other like, what did we just walk in on? Nobody said a word. We went in and he told me to sit down and he proceeded to let me go. And I left crying. Just one of many times.
Seems like every time we go to a complaint, there's a meth lab somewhere, but I've never seen this many at one time. And like I said, if the detectives that are charged with cleaning these things up say that that's the biggest one they've ever seen, and that's something very unusual. This is not the crystal meth like you would see in Breaking Bad. This is just a homegrown one step.
Did you hear what he just said? He's right. He is right. But did you hear what he said? This stuff ain't the real crystal meth. This is like homegrown. It's like K2 for meth. It's like shape. Well, back then, this was 10 years ago that these news things were done. About 10 years ago. 5 to 10 years ago, whatever. Well, it's been longer than that because he's been there. Or he was there. But, oh, anyway, I forgot what I was going to say.
Nasty stuff that I can't even believe people would put into their body. But this is the biggest one I'd ever seen.
Now, look back there behind him. Look on the wall back there. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Barry, or Officer Barry Engel, former Officer Barry Engel, I don't know where he works now, but he is a retired, I think, state policeman, which if he's a retired state policeman, he was on the state police for long enough, many years, long enough to be retired from it. And then it's kind of like how Danny Webb was the sheriff. It's kind of how he ran his department. He took in all these cops, retired cops. Like this one was a retired state boy. Brian Dameron, I think, was his pit bull. Brian Dameron was a Marine, from what I heard. And he yeah. So somebody wanted me to ask anybody who messed around with the judge. We got enough people on here. If there's anybody out there that messed around, which we know there was, messed around with the judge, well, forget that I said that. Okay. One of the things that we found out recently, just within the last couple of weeks, was about Lexi Bentley. Lexi Bentley was a girl with a very troubled history. She was a substance abuse user. You know what I mean, substance abuser. She really had a hard way to go, and she was turned into sex trafficking when she was a child, which led to, social isolation. She was basically an outcast in this community. Most people thought they were better than her, and you know what comes along with addiction. Sometimes, if you've been a little old girl that's been used and abused sexually all your life, I'd say you don't grow up and become a very productive member of society. Like I've heard people say, well, she robbed so many people and she did this and she did that. Okay, but that didn't, those are symptoms. Those are kind of things that come along with the pain and just all the brokenness that things that happened to her had produced. I think it's different. Somebody who was turned out by their own family members at the age of, 8. and was told how pretty she was all of her life, and all these dirty old men in these hollers doing stuff, and their own family members pimping them out for alcohol to the bootlegger, to get them a pint, or like I said, coming up here to get a cigarette, sending them up to get a cigarette from the SMEX offender, the neighborhood SMEX offender, knowing dang well what's going to happen to get that cigarette. And you're the one sending your child up there. Oh, but that's fun. That's fun. Anyway, back to Lexi. So Lexi allegedly had a video. She made a video of her and Judge Mullins. And the video, for anybody that wasn't here when we talked about it, the video was shown to several people. She said that she sent it to several people. So if anybody out there has that video that Lexi made of her and Judge Mullins, we're trying to find it. So she stopped and saw one of her friends, and they said, well, where are you going? And she said, I'm on my way down to get some money off Mullins. And she said, oh, how you going to do that? Or what's that? And she was like, child support, fees. She just had all of the drug court fees. She had all this money, or probation, or whatever she was on. All this money. She was like, I'm getting ready to go back to jail. I have to pay this stuff. She was like, no, I don't have nothing. So she was going to go down and show Mullins that she had that video and blackmail him over it. Now, we use the word blackmail, but I don't know if she would use that word. I don't know if he would use that word. I don't know if anybody in this whole thing would use that word, but I'm going to, because that's exactly what it is. Whether it's old Diddler with his library of blackmail tapes that he's been making and keeping for the last 30 years, probably longer than that, truth be known. Okay, let me get back here and get off my tangent. All right, so let's watch this other one.
It didn't go well. And it's a thousand wonders that, somebody hadn't lost her life, because when he attempted to elude Sydney and go up Perk Creek, he almost hit that vehicle. Sydney said that he tried to follow him behind as close as he could, but he went up Perk Creek at a high rate of speed. He could have, it's hard to tell how many people he endangered by doing that.
I don't know what that was part of, but it was interesting, so I included it. That was Eugene Sloan from when he worked at the sheriff's department.
Involving fraudulent loans, a Letcher County grant.
Now, this one I wanted to be very, very clear on. This is an example of that white collar crime. When I said this was the Eastern Kentucky, or you might as well say Appalachia, because I'd say it's not stuck just right here. Doesn't just apply for Kentucky, but the white collar crime capital of the world. Well, this is one of the examples of why I say that. It's so easy for people to do these things. And when you don't have law enforcement agencies that are even educated or smart enough to even catch this kind of stuff, you know? And it's not necessarily that they're smart enough. Somebody's going to end up becoming a victim. Like what these women did, they had victims.
Jury indicted Christy. 2 Letcher County women face charges in connection to a scam involving fraudulent loans. A Letcher County grand jury indicted Christy Lee Sexton and Shelley Lynn Salyers on hundreds of charges, including theft by deception. Prosecutors say the pair stole nearly $200,000 through their scheme. I spoke with police about how relieved they are to crack the case. An indictment that includes hundreds of charges landed 2 former employees of the Whitesburg Cash-in-a-Dash behind bars. Christy Sexton and Shelley Salyers are accused of processing loans in the names of former customers without their permission and then pocketing the money. Prosecutors say the 2 women even used names of dead people on some of the loan papers.
Had to been some kind of determination that if these individuals felt like that they could carry this out and benefit from it and not be found out.
Police placed Sexton and Salyers behind bars here at the Letcher County Jail. Both women declined our requests for interviews. Police say their investigation lasted several months and revealed the pair stole nearly $200,000.
Although things may look like they are a wise thing to do or going to profit you initially.
Now, I've been told some of the scariest stuff with some bankers in this area. Just because somebody works at a local bank doesn't mean that they are trustworthy. I have we've got so many people who were clients of Daniel Dotson. He was their own attorney who also worked with some bankers, some local bankers. Everything that man touched, I think, needs a second look and maybe a third, fourth, fifth, or sixth. Everything, every single case, everything that his name touches or has touched is going to end up being. That's what I'm going to do anytime I ever hear of that man for the rest of my life. He's going to have me an ugly face.
Sooner or later, you know, your time's going to run out. And
yeah.
As the old saying goes, your sins are going to find you out.
The Cash-in-a-Dash building caught fire in January within weeks of police starting their investigation into Sexton and Salyers. Firefighters have not figured out what started that fire. The 2.
You don't reckon? Oh, you don't reckon it was arson, do ya? Oh, man. Oh, man. All right, now this is our last one. This is on drug court. We're going to see our new judge in this video. All right, let's see.
Did that event. Bringing support to the drug community. That's what folks in Letcher County say they're trying to do.
The community, you know, some people label us addicts.
In our community and communities around the.
Right there. That is our new judge. Now, this has been several years ago. Let me see when it was. 2016. So this has been about 10 years ago. I didn't know that Judge Whitaker, oh, that's going to take some getting used to. I've not called him that, you know, but he deserves it. He deserves that respect, I think. Anyway, this is Nick Whitaker. So he is our new district judge. He's the one who was appointed to take Judge Mullins's place. And I think he was absolutely the best choice that they had by far. I've said that I've known Nick for a very long time. I've known his wife and their children. Our kids went to the same grade school when they were little together. And I went to church with his wife's family for a very long time. And so I know them personally. And his brother was my boy's baseball coach. And I'm still very good friends with his brother and his wife. And so I know this guy. And I've known him for the last 15 years. And I've never... He wasn't a judge. He just went to law school like, 5 or 6 years ago or something like that. He worked in drug court, which is why he's on this news story. He's speaking on the drug court. But he worked in the drug court. He worked in, I think he worked in probation, the probation department. And he also worked in the PVA office. The property value office, valuation office, or whatever you call it. He worked there. And in that whole time that everybody knew him, you never, not the first time ever, has anyone ever heard anything negative about him as a husband or a father or a son. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Nick Whitaker has absolutely zero characteristics of Judge Mullins. Zero. I don't think you ever have to worry about anything like that. So that's my take on Letcher County District Judge Nick Whitaker.
State, there's nobody that hasn't been affected by drug abuse one way or another. A family member, a friend, somebody has been affected by drug abuse.
On Saturday, dozens of people listened to recovering drug addicts share their testimonies at the Drug Court Recovery Walk. Leaders say many participants were from drug courts. They say this is a statewide event aiming to end drug addiction and the stigma that comes along with it.
Just to show people that addicts are not bad people. We just made bad choices.
If you take the drugs out of the equation, they're good people.
Leaders say this walk is a way to spotlight the good from the bad and show that addicts do recover.
They're able to do a lot of good things.
Shining a light on the darkness and showing the hope that those living in Eastern Kentucky can bring. In Letcher County, Lauren Osborne, WYMT Mountain News.
All right, guys. Oh, well, I guess we got one more thing to do. What time is it? All right, we still got a little ways. So we're going to who appointed Judge Whitaker? I guess I'm not sure if it was the governor. Yeah, I guess it would have been the governor. I don't guess the attorney general would have done that. No. So it would have been the governor, I guess. But what they did, the way that they did that was that they had 3 nominations. They had Nick, they had Tyrone Fields' wife, Ashley Sturgill, and they had who else was it? There was a third one, but I don't remember who it was. They had those 3 people. Was it Matt? It wasn't Matt. I don't think it was the Butler, because I think he was already in the Commonwealth's place. I can't think. Was it Michael? I don't think it was Michael, was it? It might have been Michael. I didn't think it was Michael because I thought if it had been Michael, they would have chosen Michael. But maybe it was. Anyway, they gave it to Nick. And I think that that's a good thing because I think because Nick wasn't an attorney all those years, he got to experience more sides than just the prosecutor side or the defense attorney side. He got to see it from, like drug court, probation. He got to see it from that other side. And, I think just his character, his personal character matters. And I think that was a God thing. I don't think Andy Bashir had any idea. I think he probably chose the safest. I think Andy Bashir was very careful on that decision, which I appreciate. I'm glad that he was very careful. I think that he should have been very careful in that decision. But I think he did the right thing. I think they already knew who they were going to choose when they put all three of them out there. They just kind of probably had to have some nominations. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Speculating. But I think Nick's personal reputation hopefully preceded him. Because he has a good one. Not a bad one. By no means. Okay, so we're going to read a few of these. Let me see. I sent them to Jenny. I can just pull them up that way. Okay, so would have started with the first one. And then which way are we gonna go? All right. One year later, sheriff's motive for unaliving the judge is more clear. The front just kind of catches people up a year later. Well, I guess we better read it. A year after then, Sheriff Mickey Stines. See, can you all see that? Good. All right. A year later, after Mickey Stines pew-pewed and unalived Judge Kevin Mullins in the judge's chambers, court documents and interviews have revealed a man fiercely protective of his public image and consumed by fear. Now, I got so many people contacting me today and so upset over this article because they said that they felt like the newspaper man was trying to pick sides, which I think's been evident from the beginning. He was friends with Judge Mullins, and so he's gonna write his articles accordingly. And so we shouldn't be shocked, okay? Defense attorneys for Stines say that fear amounted to paranoia and are arguing that the murder indictment against him should be dismissed. They say the prosecution withheld evidence from the grand jury that Stines was suffering from an extreme emotional disturbance at the time of the shooting and flatly accused the lead detective of lying. Given the overwhelming evidence of Mr. Stein's mental state prior to and immediately following the shooting, Detective Clayton Stamper had no clear basis for testifying that Mr. Stines was in his clear mind, the defense motion says. But those who have known Stines for years, many of whom did not want to be identified, said he has always been image conscious. Oh, okay. So see, before any kind of anonymous quotes or anonymous information like I have let people do, I have gotten so much crap about how I'm not a real reporter. And this newspaper guy, the guy who writes these articles for this newspaper, like when my show first started, he kept taking digs at me in these articles, but he wouldn't name me. He wouldn't put my name in there, and he wouldn't say my show name, but he would take digs at me where you could tell who he was talking about. And then Matt, I guess being territorial because, putting out the information to this community was his job, not mine. And I wasn't a real reporter. So I guess that offended him in some way, shape or form. I don't know. But, it really irritates me when people tell me I ain't good enough. That irritates the crap out of me. But anyway, those who have known Stines for years, many of whom did not want to be identified, so now he can start taking these anonymous quotes. It's okay for him to do it now, but, when I was the only one doing it, it made me not a real reporter because, they don't go by those rules. He would often refuse to speak on the phone to people he thought were using their speakerphone because he was afraid someone else was listening. Co-workers complained that he would tattle on others for criticizing him, and he could dish it out, but he couldn't take it. And then here underneath the pictures, it says he was shot 9 times. But now we've always gotten the reports that it was 8. So I don't know if he's gotten, and remember, everybody down there in that courthouse are all his sources. So if he's saying he was shot 9 times, then that's an additional wound that had not been reported anywhere else and that we've not heard anywhere else, I don't know. Makes me wonder. Okay. It says news of the crime, along with speculation, rumors, and innuendo, began spreading across the U.S. only minutes after Stines pulled his pew-pew and began firing at the unarmed Mullins at about 2:51 on that Thursday afternoon. I thought it was Thursday. Okay. Because of that, some people who counted themselves as friends said they would get him going by making him the butt of jokes. According to a 2019 lawsuit filed by a former deputy, now this is Alicia Congleton, the one that we just saw on those videos, and the one who is our school resource officer, the one that I like so well. This is her. This is talking about her. The lawsuit filed by a former deputy who served with Stines under Sheriff Danny Webb. Stines repeatedly complained to Webb that she was undermining him politically in the 2018 sheriff's election. The sheriff's department was split at that time, in supporting 3 different deputies, all running for sheriff. I remember when this happened. Sergeant Alicia Congleton supported Deputy Eugene Sloan. He's the one that was real soft-spoken there that we were watching in the videos, the one that let me go. Supported Deputy Eugene Sloan in the primary. And Captain Barry Engel, he's the one who came out of the office, who ran as an independent in the fall. She was vocal about her opposition to Stines, and Webb laid off Congleton and all other deputies before Stines took office, citing a lack of funds, which was a whole other can of worms when that happened. I remember they were trying to get a second, count them two, they were trying to get a second retirement out of the fiscal court. Was what they were trying to do. And the fiscal court, Jim Ward, would not give it to them. It was a huge thing. When Stines would not rehire Congleton in January 2019, she filed and lost a discrimination lawsuit against him. Congleton, now Jenkins Independent School Police Chief, said at one point before the election that she would never support Stines because he lacks the moral compass and training to be sheriff. He reminds me of a big old bully that would get puffed up when he didn't get his way, Congleton said. Like he did all this good stuff in the community, but he was doing it for all the wrong reasons. I wonder who does that sound like? Does that sound like the preacher? Huh? The preacher man was Mickey's running buddy. They were always out doing stuff together. You even saw in that Letcher County T-post that I put on Facebook, you see Michael in the deputy's car with Mickey, and Mickey's got his phone up on his ear, all laid back in the driver's seat, and Michael looks, he looks like a little old boy taking him a picture. Like, look. He's used to being in an orange jumpsuit, and now he's riding in the front of a police car. Yeah, I'm telling you, I think they just put together one heck of a cover for the old boy is what I think they did. I think they were running, I think Michael Clark is in all of this up to his eyeballs. But that's just my feeling. Despite some of his past behavior, friends and acquaintances said Stines was different in the week leading up to a deposition he sat for in Prestonsburg. That deposition was in a federal lawsuit claiming Deputy Ben Fields coerced women on home incarceration into having sex. Stines and East Kentucky Correctional Services, Inc. were included in the lawsuit because they were Fields' employers. Fields was also charged criminally for his actions and pled guilty to 1 count each of third-degree R, third-degree S, and second-degree perjury, and 2 counts of tampering with a prisoner monitoring device. He didn't mention only 6 months in jail either, did he? No. He tried to make it sound like Ben got a raw deal, didn't he? Like he actually got punished for his crime. Kind of made it sound like that, didn't it? Come on now, man. Come on. He got 6 months. in his own jail. And then what? He had 5 years supervised probation and 2 years unsupervised probation. And I guarantee you he will walk that 5 years like it's nothing. He will never be treated the same way that other people are treated on probation. Not around here, he won't. All right. Stines was attending a sheriff's convention and took some vacation days before that deposition. So if he was at that sheriff's convention, I wonder where that was. And I wonder if the police spoke to anybody that was at that convention. Did they talk to Mickey? Did Mickey try and talk to anybody else? Was there anybody there that he tried to confide in? How about a real investigation? According to sources and court records, Stines stayed at his aunt's house on Tuesday night before the shooting and went to see his family doctor that Wednesday. According to court records, he and his wife had discussed divorce, and he allegedly admitted to affairs with other women. Plural. Plural. I told you there's some new information in this article. We heard about one long time affair that he had, like 7 years or something. Long time affair. And this says he admitted to plural affairs, plural. So that adds a little bit more credibility and credence to the woman, his childhood friend, who said he sent her an unsolicited pecker pick. Which I believed her anyway. I believed her from the very get-go. I'm just saying. This kind of just adds credibility to it. Several said he was paranoid that someone was watching his house or had planted listening devices in it, and that he would wake his wife up in the middle of the night to leave the house and go down the street to whisper things. He was afraid down the street to whisper things he was afraid to say at home. Well, you know, that tells me it doesn't necessarily mean that he was paranoid, you know, that he was this scared for no reason. You know, only Mickey knows what all he knows and what all he don't. Only Mickey knows what he himself has personally done or not done. And you know what it sounds to me like? It sounds to me like somebody who had a really, really big guilty conscience. He knew so much about so many people. And I think he was absolutely terrified that these investigations were going to reveal all of this stuff. And, you know, if you're involved or if you've been involved previously with stuff, you might get a little scared. Like, especially if they are threatening your family. As far as we have seen and heard, everybody says he was paranoid, he was crazy, he was losing his mind. But what was he saying? He was just saying that people were watching him. He was just saying that people were following him, or you know, those are the things that he was saying. He wasn't saying like off the wall crazy stuff, like that didn't make any sense. He was talking about being in fear of somebody, getting him. And I look at the title of tonight's show. I'm going to get you before you get me. And this article that the newspaper man, listen, he's got the inside. This newspaper man has access to Judge Jimmy Kraft's chambers. I feel certain that he had access to Judge Kevin Mullins's chambers. He had access that nobody else had. So, I think he's let a few things out in this article that we just didn't, that he has put together because of his knowledge that we didn't know. So we didn't know to put it together. Plus, like I said, reading the briefs and stuff, I had a hard time understanding what it was saying. And I think this newspaper guy does a pretty good job of making me understand it anyway. Let me get down to it. Stines was attending. Okay. Friends and coworkers urged him to see a doctor, which he did on September 18th, 2024, denying being any danger to himself or others. So that's the thing. So they asked Mickey himself, are you a danger to yourself or others? And he said, well, no. And so that's who you believed? You believed him? Like, who made that decision? Who made the decision that they could trust the patient? When you've got how many people took him down there? And think about what was being said. Oh, well, let me read it. And so you're going to hear what he went down there and said was causing him all upset, to be all upset. It's just crazy. The defense's motion to dismiss. Despite the changes, some noted, none imagined that he would unalive his longtime friend, but they were not longtime friends. So that's not true. And this newspaper man knows that they were not longtime friends. They really did not like each other, apparently, from what I've learned. They were not friends. They were co-workers, and I guess they must have got along, because they worked together as best they could. But they didn't always get along. They did not get along, from what I've found out. But Stines walked in to his office, locked the door, and a few minutes later methodically fired 9 shots from his .40 caliber Glock service weapon into the judge. There's that 9 shots again. I don't know where that comes from, unless we've got it wrong, and it is 9. But that just adds one more. The entire incident was caught on security camera. The defense motion to dismiss the indictment relies largely on excerpts from a statement made to a Kentucky State Police by Daniel Dotson, who has been variously described as the sheriff's department's attorney. So I didn't know that. So Daniel Dotson was the sheriff's department's official attorney? Since when? Is he always been the sheriff's department's attorney? Because they were and earlier, right after the shooting happened, whenever they were talking about the depositions and all that, even in the depositions, I think it says that they called Jamie Hatton to ask Jamie Hatton what to do over something. Why would they say now that Daniel Dotson was the sheriff's department's attorney? I've never seen that or heard that anywhere else a day in my life. This is the very first time I've ever heard that being said. Now, maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm out of the loop. Maybe he's been their attorney for a long time. But I sure ain't never heard of that before. Nowhere. And the sheriff's department association or whoever it is, they gave Mickey and Ben an attorney from the sheriff's department, and it was not Daniel Dotson. So that's a new piece of information. Dotson has retired since the shooting and lives in Tennessee. He's got him a big fancy lake house down there, Mr. Cash Diddler. Oh, the diddler, honey. He's got mansions and lake houses and gingerbread houses and cabins. I mean, what kind of money you think he's been stacking up all these years? He's stacking it, baby. All right. Dotson had attended a deposition in the civil case with Stines on the Monday before the shooting and told others there that Stines had episodes as a result of encephalitis contracted through a tick bite. According to the defense motion, Dotson said those Stines had never threatened him or Mullins. Here's a piece. Now, we read this, but the context adds understanding and clarity for me. When I was reading it in the brief or the transcript, I just couldn't put it in my head. I couldn't comprehend it the way that I was supposed to. But reading it in this article, I did. Okay. He says, according to the defense motion, Dotson said that though Mickey had never threatened him or Kevin Mullins, he was concerned with Stines' behavior. He believed, according to the motion, that Stines had paranoid schizophrenia. Since when, Daniel? Paranoid schizophrenia, really? Okay. And was criminally insane. Dotson was allegedly so concerned with Stines' mental state that he contacted the Kentucky Bar Association to determine what he could and couldn't do about it. Now, why would he contact the Bar Association to ask what he could or couldn't do? Because he was acting as Mickey's attorney? Well, what if Daniel, because we hear it here in a minute, Mickey said that Daniel said, give me money and then go unalive yourself, or we're going to take out your family. Why is that? What if Daniel said, trust me, you just do this and I'll get you out of it. You know what happened to Ben. We'll take care of you, Mickey. They'll put you downstairs and I'll make sure that you're taken care of. I mean, you know, who knows? But now I think we're starting to get them turning on each other. Now, every time they get interviewed by an investigator, they're going to have to remember if they start telling any lies, they're going to have to start remembering their lies. Hi, hot down. Okay. Hop down. Hop down. Hop down. You get ready to fall. Watch out. Move. All right. The motion also said, oh, where am I at? The motion also says that Stines called Whitesburg Police Chief Tyrone Fields the night before the shooting. Why is Stines calling Tyrone the night before the shooting? Like, is that a normal occurrence? Do they talk often? Are they friends? Or was he looking for information? Well, he's getting ready to tell us. The motion also says that Steins called Tyrone Fields the night before the shooting and that Fields told Dotson. So now you've got Tyrone telling Daniel that when he hung up, he told Ashley Sturgill, his wife. Well, that SOB has lost his mind. The motion, now that's quoted, right? That's also quoted in the transcript. The motion goes on to say Fields told the KSP investigators that Steins was off his rocker and that he was looking for Steins the day of the shooting to discuss his mental health. Well, I guess you guys didn't get there fast enough, right? Let's see. Reached by the newspaper, Fields acknowledged Steins had called him, telling him something about someone who had told him that Fields was part of a Facebook group on housing, something that Fields said he could not understand. Fields did not elaborate on how that conversation went, but said he will stick by what's in the motion. Well, do you think that was investigated? Do you think we've got an interview of Tyrone Fields by the KSP? We haven't heard one yet. I don't know. Like, they're just piecing it out, right? If this doesn't even go to trial, we'll really probably never know what they did and didn't do. I would like to know what they did and didn't do in terms of investigation. I would like to know who they did and did not interview. But it sounds to me like this is kind of a big piece, doesn't it? I mean, it's big enough for the newspaper man to add it in there. It's big enough for people to be talking about it. It's big enough that if we didn't know it, it would feel like we were being lied to by omission. All of these people are very important to get statements from. Because I do not believe that Mickey did this by himself. I feel like there was a bigger group of people that were putting pressure and threats on him to keep him quiet. The judge was still alive, still controlled everything, was the golden boy, had complete power to make things disappear. You know, we have a whole lot of deaths, and every single one of them needs to be investigated and needs to be either, said no, this has no foul play. But others, I think they absolutely deserve a second look. I think anything that went through that courthouse with certain people attached to it should all be gone over with a fine tooth comb. I don't mean somebody coming in saying, oh, we're going to look at this, and they just, next. No. If they're going to do it, then do it. If you're not going to do it, then don't. Don't even bother. Because we've had enough. We've had enough of BS. We've had enough of incompetence. We've had enough of lies. We've had enough of cover-ups. That's what we're trying to expose and reveal and uncover now, are all the cover-ups. We don't need another one. I will say, now this is a quote by Tyrone Fields to the newspaper man. I will say, I did not say the SOB was crazier than hell. I said something worse, he said. Well, if that's not what he said, then why would that be testified to on the stand and not even be accurate? Did anybody even catch that? Well, if that's not what you said and you said something way worse, what was it that you did say then? Because he just came out in this article and said, that's not what I said. I said something much worse. I think that that's a big point to make. He wouldn't elaborate, so Tyrone Fields wouldn't elaborate on that conversation that he had about the housing group. Well, do you know how much we are uncovering on land and property stuff in Letcher County that has court involvement? Like people getting their property stolen from them, people having court lawsuits, summary judgments being made that never deserved a summary judgment. But we found over 100 cases in appeals with one specific judge and one specific lawyer connected in all of those 100 cases. Over 100 cases. And those are just the ones that we found. And every single one of them were summary judgments that were granted. Many of them were not even eligible, or, they weren't even allowed to be given the summary judgment. They didn't deserve it. Like they shouldn't have gotten it. But they were given it. And in many of the cases, this specific lawyer requested a certain amount. So say they requested $8,500 summary judgment. Well, this specific judge would grant, but they weren't even entitled to it, right? They weren't even entitled to it, but didn't matter. Their lawyer was going to request it. And this judge grants it. But they don't grant the $8,500 summary judgment. They grant a $10,000 summary judgment. $1,500 more than what was even requested. Ain't that something? And in every single case, it was like an insurance company or a doctor's office, or it was somebody who had the money to fight it in the appeals court. People who aren't an insurance company or, a medical whatever, they don't have the money to fight in appeals. So even though we found over 100 cases in appeals that had those kind of plaintiffs, well, I don't know what the other thing would be called. So plaintiff, I'd say, is probably the wrong word. I used the wrong word, and I don't know what the right word is, but party. We'll use party. So the other party is, you know, hospital, insurance company, somebody that has lawyers on retainer that do this every day, right? Those are the ones that are taking those into the appeals court to fight those summary judgments. What about all the summary judgments that were done over the years with this judge and this lawyer for poor people? People who couldn't afford to go hire another attorney and fight it in appeals, in an appeals court. And if it's something like a few $1,000 summary judgment, you know, anywhere between, say, 1,000 and 10,000, something like that, you're going to end up spending more money on a lawyer to fight it than what it would cost if you just let it, you know, you're just going to lose that money. You're just out. It's very fascinating, ain't it? Then we found where one of the judges have sold multiple properties. There's been a ton of property go through all these legal hands. Personally, like they owned this property and they're selling it to this lawyer and selling it to this lawyer. Oh, well, let's sell you a few pieces. And everything that all they did was move their monies. It seems like they went from rehab and treatment. First, it was all the coal mines, you know, and then when they shut the coal mines down, they had to try and find out another way to make money. We're using SOAR's innovation, baby. Bringing innovation to the mountains. You sure did. You sure did. You brought the right kind of innovation to nonprofit. You just showed everybody how to start a nonprofit organization and how to link them all up and make all these partners. And now it sounds to me like they're getting ready to put a big resort up on the golf course. Well, I've been hearing this for a long time. There still ain't no resort or casino up there at the golf course. But I hear that it's in the works with one of these nonprofits, Eastern Kentucky something. Somebody sent it to me in email. So we're going to be digging into all that stuff. We need, you know, anybody that wants to do open records requests for us, or dig up any of this information, I desperately need you. We need diggers, you know, but you guys use your own, you know what we're talking about. If you have any questions, reach out to me that I can answer. But for the most part, you know, you're on your own. Dig and just send me what you find. Learn how to be chat GPT it. Ask them, say this is what we're looking for. We need this. Show me how to do it. And they will, chat GPT will give you a breakdown. It'll write it all for you and everything. AI is awesome. Can be used for great things. I will say, oh, he already said that. Okay. Field said that his wife, attorney Ashley Sturgill, was in the courthouse the next day when the shooting occurred. Fields' comment about Stines' phone call, Facebook, supports what others have said in anonymous interviews. People familiar with Stines said he would sometimes get so upset at comments or reactions to his Facebook posts that he would call the people who reacted to ask why they responded negatively. The motion says that Christine Boland, she's the one who put hands all over him, who works as a clerk in the sheriff's department, so she's a clerk, told KSP that sheriff's department staff were worried about Stines' behavior and said that the day before the shooting that Stines had claimed, so this was the day before the shooting, okay? Day before. Listen to what he says. This is the day before. The day before, Stines had claimed that Dotson told him to give him money and to unalive himself, or they were going to unalive his wife and daughter. The motion, so that was known the day before the shooting. Don't you think somebody should have been ringing the alarm bells then? The day before the shooting, he said that. And nobody thought twice about him going in and talking to Kevin or anything. We heard that Mickey was looking for Daniel. After and before, we heard that he was looking for Daniel Dotson. And him walking down that sidewalk like he did with his shirt, who knows? Who knows? We know that he didn't shoot nobody else. So whether he meant to or not, it doesn't really matter because he didn't. The motion claims that Bowling and Stines insisted on going to his home. The motion claims Bowling said Stines insisted on going to his home to check on his family, and that a Ring doorbell video confirmed it. Longtime Deputy LaShawna Frazier. So is she a deputy? So LaShawna Frazier is a deputy. Interesting. Who has managed the sheriff's office's finances. She should probably be big time investigated. If that's her job, and her job is the finances of the sheriff's department, and she has been there since 2003. What did I tell y'all? She had been there through like 3 different sheriff's departments, and it's her job to do all like the paperwork and stuff. Well, that right here in this article, it says she is responsible for the sheriff's department finances. Do you know how much money has, like, where's it at? Oh, since 2003? How can they even find out how much money's been missing? Like, there's no way to even find it out. Because every single year, they do these stupid audits that don't tell you nothing. And what they do tell you is that they don't have a system good enough to find or catch or even rectify waste, fraud, and abuse. So you have absolutely no oversight. You have absolutely hardly any track. I mean, how are they even supposed to track it? Is there anybody tracking it? Has anybody went through the line item by line item on the sheriff's department budget? the sheriff's department all of their finances? Where are the forfeiture papers? Where's the forfeiture reports, Lashana? Why have you not been sending an annual forfeiture report? Why has the sheriff's department not been putting in these forfeiture forms into the court? And if they have, I'd like to see those, because they're not making it to the state department that oversees all that stuff. They haven't had an annual report from Letcher County in a long time. But the last one that was sent in was by you, because it was like 2016 or something, the last one that I saw, maybe a little bit earlier than that. But it was definitely since 2003. Maybe that's not her job. Well, then whose job is that? Would that be Jamie Hatton's job? Who turns in that forfeiture form to the court? Because it would have to go in front of the judge for the judge to sign it and approve it and order it. You got to audit more than just the budget printed in the county paper. We got to audit the CAFR accounts, which is where dirty money goes. Absolutely. Forensic accountants. Now. The H&R Block lady that I used, she robbed me. She tried to rob me. I wrote a $500 check. It went through. They put it through that little machine right there in front of me. I was standing there. I paid my $500 and I left. They kept the check. They didn't give it back to me. I don't use checks very often, so I didn't know they even did that. I didn't know that they gave you your check back. A month later, now that $500 came out of my account. A month later, I'm sitting at work at home. I work from home. But I'm on my stuff. I am on my mobile banking like nobody's business. And it come through on my phone, $500 for H&R Block. I done paid that. I scrolled up through my thing and it said $500 had been taken out of my account at the beginning of the month. 25 days later or something like that, they send it through again. And I had money in my account. It did not overdraft me. It took another $500 out of my account. So I went to the bank and I said, hey, I had a check. I wrote a check and it's come through and it's posted twice on my account. She was like, oh, no, no, that's got to be a mistake. That don't happen. Well, I mean, it says right here it's took $500 more out of my balance. So it's happened. Oh, no, that can't happen. It can't happen. So I show her my phone. There's the first one. There's the second one. She said, She pulls it all up on the computer and she was like, she gave me my money back because it had happened. The bank gave me my money back. And I said, now what do I do? Do I have to go talk to the police? Because if I had done that, I would have been charged. If I had done that, I would have been charged with theft. And nobody can tell me that I wouldn't have been. She said, no, now we gave you your money back, so now it's on us. So now the bank has to do it. Well, I don't know whatever happened to it, but I know that that lady still works down there. And I won't go back to them. I'll never go back to them for my taxes ever again. How many people you think they've done that way? How many people do you think that they do that kind of way? Because people don't know. People don't know no better, or people just get robbed. Sorry, I didn't mean to get off on that tangent, but you know, you don't have anybody that is stopping this white collar crime. Like they'd rather throw somebody in jail for smoking a joint than throw somebody in jail for stealing $200,000. I wonder how much jail time those women got for the $200,000 loans that they were processing in somebody else's name. That is like identity theft and you name it. Wire fraud, bank fraud. I mean, those are some heavy, what they did was big time. That was big time. It was a big time con and it was a big time fraud right here in Letcher County. Says that she went with Bowling and Stein's family to check him in at the doctor's office on the day before the shooting. According to the motion, she told the detective that between a massive weight loss and the inability to sleep, she believed Stines was in a psychosis. I think his anxiety was completely off the charts, the motion quotes her as saying. Stines' aunt told the KSP that he asked her to check on his family and was really freaked out because someone was walking on the street near his house. The motion says she made a follow-up call to Detective Anthony Trotter. So that's the one that came in whose body cam we were watching. He's the one who came in and talked to Mickey in the hallway, the Kentucky State Police. He's also the one that transported Mickey to the jail in Leslie County. So the day before he shot Judge Mullins, Mickey's aunt had called Anthony Trotter on the phone to tell him how worried they were about him and what was going on. So you're saying that KSP Anthony Trotter, the same one that we see in there investigating this red rum, that Mickey called him the day before, wouldn't that make him a witness? Wouldn't that make Anthony Trotter a freaking witness? Why is he handling the investigation? And maybe, no, he's not been the lead detective, but I think he's handling the situation. Don't you, by the videos that we watched? He's the one that's in control of it all. And he's sitting there saying, oh, Mickey, what's going on? What's going on? Like he didn't know anything about it. Like he hadn't got that phone call from Mickey's aunt the day before. He knew something. Maybe that's why they kept asking him, Mickey, does this have anything to do with your family? They already knew the threats that Mickey was getting. They knew it the day before the shooting. So how does that not make the Kentucky State Police witnesses? How does that not conflict them out of doing this investigation? I mean, am I the only one that sees that and questions that? Stines had called her and asked where his grandmother was. She had been dead for 3 years, the motion said. The motion goes on to challenge the truthfulness of Detective Clayton Stamper, his testimony to the grand jury that Judge Mullins was not involved in the suit. Yes, that's another huge discrepancy or lie misleading. It was very misleading. Oh, yes, I think Judge Mullins is involved in that lawsuit. Just because he wasn't named in the lawsuit doesn't mean he was not involved. And I think that the meaning of those two words changed the context completely. While Deputy Fields admitted to having sex with an inmate under his supervision while in a restroom in the judge's chambers, Mullins did not sit for a deposition in that case and was not named as a defendant. The defense motion, however, quotes Dotson's statement to police, which includes an unsubstantiated claim that the insurance company lawyer for the sheriff's department made to Dotson, claiming Mullins had questioned his involvement in the Fields case and why he had been to Prestonsburg for the deposition. You heard that right. Let's read that again. The defense motion, however, quotes Dotson's statement to police, which includes an unsubstantiated claim that the insurance company lawyer for the sheriff's department made to Dotson. So Dotson told a statement. I wouldn't believe nothing that came out of that man's mouth. I don't know how anybody can believe anything he says. Anything. Like, he has zero credibility to me. Below zero. Like a negative. He's in the negative in my book. So Dotson made a statement to the police, which made an unsubstantiated claim. So is the newspaper man calling Dotson a liar? Who made the unsubstantiated claim? That the insurance company lawyer for the sheriff's department made to Dotson. So the lawyer who was given to Mickey Stines for Ben's for the civil suit, that's who he's talking about. He's talking about the lawyer that was supposed to represent Mickey in the civil suit from the sheriff's department. But Daniel showed up to the deposition instead. Well, they both showed up, but that lawyer that the sheriff's department provided Mickey never said a word. It was only Daniel Dotson that was talking and who was guiding Mickey through that deposition. So he's saying that lawyer questioned, or he claimed that Mullins had questioned his involvement in the Fields case. That the insurance company lawyer for the sheriff's department made to Dotson. So that lawyer told Dotson that Mullins had questioned him. Oh, okay. Mullins questioned this insurance lawyer about his involvement in the Fields case and why he had been to Prestonsburg for the deposition. See, I don't think that that's written very clearly to where I can really understand what it's saying. I don't know who he's saying said what. Sheesh. You'd think that they'd write it a little bit clearer. It says in the same interview that Dotson ponders now see, I think Dotson's doing a lot of dirty playing here. Dotson was supposedly these people's friend, right? No, he ain't nobody's friend. Him and Mullins were thick as thieves, baby. Him and Mickey were also very good friends. Now, Mickey and Kevin weren't, but what does that lead you to believe? I tell you what it leads me to believe. It leads me to believe that Daniel Dotson was kind of playing the middleman. So I feel like Daniel was probably feeding Kevin Mullins what he wanted Kevin to hear, and then he was feeding Mickey what he wanted him to hear. And he's the puppet master up here, just pulling the strings. Let's see what we can get to pop off here. Let's see what we can get to pop off. And then once it popped off, like popped the head plumb off, all the roaches scattered. And now they're all trying to cover their hind ends. But there ain't no covering it because it's all already out there. Every bit of it's out there. The only thing that I've done is help coordinate it and, bring it together. All this stuff was already out there. This newspaper man has written an article just about every single one of these events. Going back how many years? A lot of this stuff has already been reported. It was just the way that it was reported may not have really, been exactly, not just that, but the whole narrative coming out of the courthouse. They spin the entire narrative and then just feed it to the newspaper man. Why else let him into your chambers? Why else let him into all, let him in that close? So you can control what's written. Makes perfect sense to me. See where I'm at here. It says in the same interview, okay, to determine if Dotson ponders if Mullins was supplying information in the civil suit and suggests that the KSP talked to Ned Pillersdorf, the plaintiff's attorney. So if Mullins was supplying information in the civil suit, that means Mickey would, and if Mickey had found out about that, how do you think Mickey would have felt? That Mullins was trying to feed him to the wolves? That Mullins was trying to take him down? Well, it also says in here that Mullins was afraid of Mickey. That Mickey was out to get Kevin Mullins. And that's what Kevin said. All of this is coming out of the newspaper man, y'all. Well, why haven't we heard any of this before? Okay, to determine if Mullins was supplying information because Mullins thought Mickey was trying to get him. The motion says Dotson then told KSP that one of the girls had video of Mullins having sex in his office. The motion says Dotson then told KSP that one of the girls had video of Mullins having sex in his office. It doesn't say she says she has video. It says that Dotson said a girl has video. Are you all reading this along with me? I'm not pulling this out of my hind end. These are his words in this article, not mine. Let's see. The motion then says Dotson told KSP one of the girls had video of Mullins having sex. It does not elaborate, but says one of the plaintiffs in the suit, Sabrina Adkins, told the Attorney General's office that she witnessed such a tape. Yes, we know about that. It does not include her further statement that she did not know the woman and did not have the tape or the subsequent interview the AG's detectives had with Chad Brown. You see how the newspaperman had to put that in there? Like he had to put that in there. Who she claimed did have the tape. Brown told investigators he never had a videotape, but just because that was in the deposition doesn't necessarily mean that is not what Dotson said. Dotson said a girl had a video. Well, I know there's many videos. Oh yeah, there've been videos. There are videos. There are more than one video. There's allegedly an entire library full. And you name them, and if they've been doing something, if you've been to Daniel's party, if you've ever been to one of Daniel's parties, and you woke up and didn't have no memory, I bet you're probably in that library. That'd suck, wouldn't it? Brown told investigators he never had a videotape, but did have an audio tape, and would only speak to police if they could get pending charges against him dismissed. Detectives said they could not do that. Why not? Why not? You gave Patrick Little, after he pled guilty to diddling one child under 12 and one child under 16, and you guys, oh yes, you guys gave him 5 years probation, house arrest, and work release. You helped him. You gave him one heck of a deal of the century, buddy. But you couldn't give Chad a deal for breaking open a sex trafficking ring that was being run by a judge and many other people in the Letcher County legal system. That's not as important as making sure that you stick it to Chad Brown. In what universe does that make any sense? Yeah. Well, whoever made that decision, I don't want to vote for you. I don't want to vote for you. I probably didn't vote for you the first time either. You see how long this article is that he wrote? We've been on here another hour and a half just going over this article. Brown refused to speak any further. I don't blame him. I sure wouldn't have turned over my evidence on that either. I would have kept it and held on to it for dear life. They'll never find it. Courthouse is painted as a brothel. Pillersdorf, who is now running for Congress, has characterized the courthouse as a brothel, using the Fields guilty plea and the fact that Fields was employed as a deputy as evidence. Uh-oh, I bet he comes down on Ned. In an emailed exchange, oh, no, he don't. No, he don't. He sure don't push Ned on anything either. So him and Ned must have an understanding. I won't ask any questions that make it hard for you to answer. Is that one of your deals? Do you tell them in advance? I won't ask any questions if you'll just answer the questions that I do ask. I won't ask any questions that you don't like. Is that kind of thing that you do? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a real reporter, so I'm just asking. Let's see. In an emailed exchange, Pillersdorf said several women have contacted him claiming to have been sexually exploited because of pending criminal cases before Letcher District Court. He declined to say who had contacted him. Oh, so I guess that means newspapermen probably don't believe it then. I don't know. I'm speculating, of course, but if they won't tell their name, then they must not be telling the truth. He said he did forward one woman's information to Stines' defense lawyers at her request. Pillersdorf said that circumstantial evidence suggests that Stines knew or should have known that the women were being assaulted. However, Stines was never asked about Mullins or any other officials in his deposition. Why not? Ned, you were the ones who were doing the deposition. Why didn't you ask? And why didn't the newspaper man ask Ned why he didn't ask those questions? Was that like an unspoken thing, or not unspoken, but was that like an unwritten thing before the deposition that you guys agreed that you wouldn't do that? I'm asking. I don't know. I don't know. Why wouldn't you ask him any of those questions? I mean, you're Sabrina's lawyers. Sabrina is your client. Why would you not ask those questions? That is either incompetent, which we know he is not incompetent, or that was strategic and it was purposeful. Who benefits from that? Does Sabrina benefit from that, or did Judge Mullins benefit from that? And how come Sabrina's attorneys or attorney is doing anything to benefit the judge? Why? No, it don't make a lick of sense. But yet, they think that us dumb Eastern Kentucky hillbillies can't put nothing together. I like mustard on my biscuits. Makes me so mad, man. He declined to say who had contacted him. Oh, I already read that part. Okay. He never asked about Mullins or any other officials in his deposition. However, Stines was never asked about Mullins or any other officials in his deposition. And when asked specifically, Pillersdorf could not name any other courthouse employees or officials whom he had evidence against. And when asked if he had any evidence that Mullins ever had sex with any women who had cases before his court, he acknowledged that he did not. Well, duh. We already know that. But how come nobody's talking about the preacher man? The preacher man was in that courtroom. The preacher man was working up in there. Just because he didn't work on the work release, and just because he wasn't the judge, he was a higher up, and he was working in that courtroom, and he was in a supervisory position over all of these women that they were sending to rehab. And when he is sending a wakey, wakey, waggy, waggy video Waggy that one-eyed monster, buddy, on your wife's very, very neatly made bed. Somebody said, how old is that video? Well, let me tell you how old that video is. Whenever it got out, whenever it came out, and the investigator found it, and I think that they went and asked him about it, he had the same bedding and pillows on his bed at that time that was in the video. So that means it was a lot more recent than he wants to admit, is what that means. Or that he would like it to be. It's a lot more recent than he would like it to be. He's a poodle with a noodle. I love it. A poodle with a noodle. Nobody wants to see that noodle. Okay? Nobody wants to see that. And a sparkle pink collar. I think he does too. I think Ned, the wonderful lawyer, knows all about this corruption. I was wondering if Michael Clark was discussed. That's what I want to know. That's exactly what I want to know. How come Michael Clark was not discussed or brought up or anything? He's part of this. And we have a video circulating publicly that he sent to a girl. Tasha, she's already put it out there. I'll tell it. She's already commented on where I put it out and stuff. He sent, and she says, she's told people that he sent it to her. So we don't. That video was Tasha. The same one that made the accusations and, she told what Judge Mullins had done to her. I think she was also trying to say what Michael Clark had done to her. But Matt Butler has her indicted, threatens her, charges her after he orchestrates all of the indictment, the grand jury, find somebody to testify against her, find somebody that will charge her or file charges against her. I don't even know how that went down, but I'd love to know the truth. Did somebody go trying to find something that they could get on her? Or did that really happen from her committing some crime after she had just done so well? Like, she had been doing amazing. I know people relapse and fall and do stupid stuff and whatnot, but she says she did not do that. She was doing so well. She had gotten her a job and she had worked her way up, to management over like an entire department, and she was killing it, and she was just doing great, and people couldn't leave her be. She was trying to tell what had happened to her. She was the very first one that came out and told her story publicly of what that judge had done to her, and his brother-in-law made sure that she would regret it. And he told them as much. He told them as much. They went in and tried to talk to Matt Butler, even though he had not recused himself yet. Now, Tasha is the niece of Harold Bowling. I think step niece or something. They're family. Harold Bowling is like married to her aunt or something like that. He is an attorney. He's an older gentleman. He was an attorney here for a very long time. Now, my one girlfriend credits him with not letting her go to clean the judge's offices. The judge had gotten my friend pinned up in a room and said, "Oh, yeah, well, you can come over here and clean my offices after we get off work. You just meet me back over here and I'll take you over there and show you where everything's at," and da-da-da-da. And she went into the smoke room and said, "Oh, yeah, well, I'm going to go clean the Judge Mullins' offices." And, "Oh, my gosh, oh, girl, my gosh, he's going to try to F you. He's going to try to F you." And she was just appalled. She was appalled. She could not believe what people were telling her. And that's everybody that was in the smoke room was telling her that. You see who hangs out in the smoke room, don't you? It wasn't drug court people hanging out in the smoke room. It wasn't the drug court people that told her that. It wasn't the drug court people that were like covering their mouth, their face, like, "Ooh, girl, oh my gosh, he's going to get you." That kind of, response. It was not the drug court people. And Harold Bowling allegedly was in there and heard her say that. And she says that Harold Bowling said, "Don't you ever go anywhere with that man alone, ever." And she said she could tell by how passionate he was about what he was saying. So that tells me that he knew what Kevin Mullins was doing. You can't tell me that he didn't. You can't tell me that Matt Butler didn't know what his brother-in-law was doing. I've been told that he was doing the same thing, only from a defense attorney standpoint. When he got appointed as prosecutor, I've done talked to a few of the girls. Well, I won't say how many, but I've done talked to at least one of his side pieces, and she gave me a really great lowdown on how he went through that transition. Once he became appointed, or it might have been after he won the election, because he won the election before he was appointed. Didn't he? Trying to think. First, he ran for judge executive. And then he was appointed Commonwealth attorney. And then he had to run in the next election. He was appointed right before the election. That's how that went. That's how that went. But regardless, they all knew. They all knew. And a lot of them were participants in this behavior. And it ain't my place to tell some girl, that what did or didn't happen to her. It's like with Tasha. She told it about the judge, and the judge's family just does not believe it. They do not believe it. The judge's wife has this she's romanticizing. I've done that. I've done that. Like, you break up with somebody, you're not there with them, and then all you can think about, is, "Oh, I miss them. Oh, well, they were just such a good, this, and they helped me with that." And, you just go on, oh, well, maybe I should get back with them and da da da. And I did that, and my mom was like, what are you doing? Did you forget about the times that he beat your face off the floor? Did you forget about the time that he left you for dead? Oh, yeah, I guess I did. You know, we romanticize the good and we just deny the bad. Lots of us do that. Okay, let's get back here. We're almost done. We've been on here too long. When asked if he had any evidence, he said he did not. All I know is some women have come forward about Mullins, Pillersdorf said. I have no idea if it is true or false. Well, okay. Thank you. Other documents have been filed. In other briefs filed in the case over the past week, the defense challenged the prosecution's opposition to releasing Stein's mental health evaluation, which was performed by the state's forensic psychiatrist. This answers those questions I had on that part too. So the defense challenges the prosecution's opposition to releasing Stines' mental health evaluation, which was performed by the state's forensic psychiatrist. That psychiatrist is presumed to represent the interests of the court, not the prosecution. However, the prosecution has filed a notice that it will conduct its own examination of Stines to determine criminal responsibility and to put on that expert testimony at trial. The notice says that the Commonwealth intends to have Stines examined by the expert relating to both the defendant's assertion of a defense of insanity at the time of the offense. Let's see. The time of the offense. And the defendant claims that he suffers or has suffered from a mental disease or other mental condition that bears on the issue of guilt and punishment. The defense is opposing the motion for another expert. The defense was given permission for its own expert to sit in on the initial examination by the forensic psychiatrist, and it has requested that the report be unsealed by the court. The prosecution is opposed to any release of the report, saying the court already has a copy that the judge can read and there would be no reason to unseal it. Rather, a significant concern exists that should the psychological evaluation be unsealed, the public release of the evaluation would taint potential jurors and deprive both the defendant and the Commonwealth of a fair trial, the brief says. That tells me, like what Mommy said, Mommy was right, I think, that whatever was said in that evaluation, I think that it benefits Mickey. I don't think it's going to benefit the Commonwealth, or they wouldn't be doing it, right? Or they wouldn't be saying that. The prosecution has already asked for a change of venue, and the brief says that the report would be subject to widespread dissemination, further compromising the ability to seat a fair trial and an impartial jury. The defense also renewed its request for an evidentiary hearing to ask the judge to allow Stines out of jail on bond. All right, that's it, y'all. That is it. Black Olive, I love you, honey. You've got a lot of great things to say. Twilight Zone. I keep thinking the truth will set you free. Well, and Janet Stumbo, from all I ever heard is the quality is the quality I thought he was. Shake my head. Opposites attract. Listen, if she married him, he's a jerk. It's just, he's a jerk. He's rude. He's disrespectful. He's dismissive. He's about 5'2", and his attitude, you'd think he was 15 foot tall. I mean, he just talks down to you. He's just not a nice person at all. And he gets on them interviews and pretends like he is, but he ain't. I'm telling you, he ain't. He does not have a very good bedside manner at all. And professional, like, really? He ain't got much professionalism either. He's lacking just as much as everybody else is. Whenever he was representing me, he used the F word all the time. Like, we had to go in and see Edison Banks, and he was like, "You're staying the F out here." And I was like, "Why?" "'Cause you won't keep your effing mouth shut." Okay. I mean, he just, whenever I was trying to hire him and tell him what was going on, he was like, "Well, what'd you do?" "What do you mean, what did I do?" "What'd you do to piss him off? Because this don't just happen." Now, he might not be doing all that with his face. But that's how I took it, you know? That's how I took it. People don't realize how they treat others, you know? They just don't. Because I guarantee you, well, he don't care how I perceived it. I don't think he cares, because he's the big Ned Pillersdorf. It's the way they all are. It's ego, man. These lawyers around here, Jenny is the very first lawyer I have ever spoken to and talked to that didn't talk down to me and treat me like I was a second, you know, like she was of some higher status class or something. Jenny ain't like that. And you know who else ain't like that? Is that Matlock, the real Matlock guy that we collab with sometimes. He's an attorney, and the boy who does his YouTube show with him, he's a law student, and he don't act like that either. They're from West Virginia, so right across the state line. But they don't have those attitudes and those personalities, like, and laugh about taking some little old man's last dime, you know. I've heard so many people talk about Daniel Dotson being up there at street side, and he'd be drinking, and next thing you know, he's talking and laughing about all these poor sots that he's took all their money, and he'd take the shirt off their backs. You know, they'd come in and try and talk to him, and they'd leave, and he'd just laugh and make fun of them and mock them, and just, I mean, other people saw this. Like, he didn't try to hide that, talking about Daniel Dotson. He never tried to hide that. He was proud and bragged to anybody that would hear him, listen to him. You want to come sleep with my wife? She's laying in there. You just go on in. What? Anyway, all right. Let's go ahead and close this on up for today. It's Friday. I might take a day off this weekend. I don't know. We'll see. I really can't afford it. I have to do a show every single day. I have to. There's no choice. So I probably won't take a day off. I feel like it though. All right. Thank you, Jesus, for another day being able to come together in your name, Lord. Thank you for another day being able to wake up. I opened my eyes this morning. I was able to get my kids off to school. You know, sometimes we just fail to realize the blessings that we have. Yeah, I can get up and my legs work and I can walk myself anywhere I need to go. You know, my eyes work. I can see. My ears work. I can hear. You know, we just take for granted so many blessings that we have in our life, Lord. And I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful for your presence. I'm thankful for your favor. I'm thankful for your mercy and your grace. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. I pray that you'll forgive me for my sins, Lord. Help me to... I just pray you just keep working on me, Lord. I can't do it myself. I cannot do anything myself, Lord. If you don't do it for me, Jesus, I can't do it. I just cannot do it. I desperately need the Holy Ghost. I need the power. I need the strength. I need the peace, the comfort, everything that the Holy Ghost brings us, Lord. I praise you. I'm so thankful for it. I cannot walk without you holding my hand. I can't talk without you holding my hand. I can't do nothing without you there with me, Lord. I'd rather sleep in the gutter, Lord, as long as it was your will, because I know that that would be blessed. I know that that'd be more blessed than anything that the devil would bring my way. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord. You know we need a house, Lord. You know I need an office space. I beg you to open the door, Lord. I beg you to open the right door. Because I know that what door you open is going to be a door that no man can shut. And you'll shut doors that no man can open. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Hallelujah. I'll wait on it though, Lord. I know God's timing is always perfect. I praise you, Lord. And I will humbly wait. Humbly wait. We pray that you'll touch Jenny and her mommy, Lord. Touch them emotionally, spiritually, physically. I rebuke the devil in the name of Jesus. That any bad spirits will be rebuked. Hallelujah, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. I love you, Lord. I thank you for being with me. I thank you for being the light at my feet. Please don't take it from me, Lord. I pray that you put a watch over my mouth and help me to not say the things that I don't need to say, and that you'll give me the words to say it proper. Until we meet again, Lord, we give you all praise, honor, and glory in Jesus' name. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys. Well, you all have a great rest of your night. Oh, yeah. That video, well, I'll talk about it tomorrow. Too many people have done left. All right. Peace out, Girl Scout. Bye.
From hillbilly crime, you can't hide from hillbilly crime. You may not know that there's a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair. Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dog passed away, get the sound of a shotgun shell. All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in harsh reality in the pines.
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't match the cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. Autumn sea